entail?
We didn't do a scrimmage. It was more controlled up and down stuff. So it's sort of one step below a scrimmage. We'll have a full scrimmage tomorrow. But today was a lot of drill work, some offensive review, a lot of really good work for our young guys, just on our concepts. And yeah, it was an excellent practice.
You mentioned Klay, and I guess this is more of just like a clarification. Heading into training camp, was it always kind of like the plan that he wasn't going to play in preseason, at least the beginning preseason games?
It wasn't determined before camp. It was sort of determined during the first couple of days when the training staff really got a look at him, and he was, spending some time in there with him, and that was when everything was determined. First couple of days of camp.
Now, I mean, I don't know if you're waiting for tomorrow to decide if Klay scrimmages, but did today make it possible that he scrimmaged tomorrow?
Unlikely to scrimmage tomorrow. Yeah.
Gotcha.
You'd been getting good reports on Baldwin coming in. Obviously, he looked pretty good, at least hitting some shots in Japan. Where do you think his game is, and is it still likely G League to start, or is he moving in a direction where he might not need some G League time?
Definitely G League. He needs to play. He had a really difficult freshman basketball season last year in Milwaukee, just with the injury. Never really built any momentum. He's healthy now. What I've been impressed with is, since I watched some of his college tape, now that he's healthy, he can move. He can move his feet. He can stay in front of guards. He's smart. Shoots it, passes it. I mean, he's a really good-looking player, but he needs a foundation. Part of that foundation is confidence, and the only way you can gain confidence is to play a lot of minutes, get a lot of shots up, make a lot of plays. And I couldn't be happier or more excited about Patrick, but I also want to temper any expectations, especially in the early going, as far as like what his impact will be on our club. I think he needs minutes and games played more than anything.
You might want to temper this one too, but you played him with Kuminga for a long, at the end of last game. Did that seem to work though? Just the way that they work, the flow of two big, I don't know, Kuminga, you call him a big, but certainly a forward type, and with a stretch five. Could that be a combination that you're going to look at a little bit down the line? Yeah, definitely. It could. And the fun thing with Patrick is that you can see him playing with a lot of our guys. Anytime you have a player who has feel, who sees the game, who is a good passer, you saw him make that one pass in transition where he caught it, and it was an immediate forward bounce pass that went underneath the defender's arm. Beautiful pass. But anytime you have someone with that kind of basketball feel, it's really easy to fit a player like that into any lineup. So I think, especially with how raw JK and Wise are, but how athletic they are, Patrick would be a nice complement to both of them, and vice versa.
So obviously Steph and Klay and Jordan will get the majority of the guard minutes, but you look at guys like Dante and Moses. How will you dictate how they are used as the season goes on? Do you already know that yet, or do you need to see more?
We have an idea. I mean, Dante's going to play. He's been in this league for a while. He's been productive. He was so impressive in Tokyo. 7 rebounds in 17 minutes. That's what a guard rebounder looks like. Someone who is constantly anticipating where the ball is going, getting to that spot, and then fighting for it. And we need more of that, frankly. So Dante he just has a grit and a toughness and a feel about him. So he's gonna be in the rotation.
You've said in the past that in some ways that Klay and Andrew can almost be used interchangeably. Is that still a possibility too, that, maybe Klay can get to some 3 minutes?
Yeah. And I could even see him playing a little 4, in today's game. Klay can guard most of the 4s that are out there because he's so strong. So I think we have a lot of versatility with our roster, and we just have to figure out the combinations that make the most sense.
Kevon Looney mentioned yesterday that there's more of a sports science element to training camp than there was when he first started out. From your perspective, what sort of changed in terms of sports science from then to now?
Well, we really let the performance team, Rick Celebrini and his group, sort of determine how hard we practice. And so there's a performance meeting before every practice. Kenny and Jama both attend that meeting. And then when we have our coaches meeting, they will share, the performance team's desires in terms of what kind of a load the players will take on that day. They monitor all that stuff with the catapult vest that they wear, which monitors heart rate and burst and distance covered, all that stuff. So yeah, when I first started, none of that existed. We were winging it pretty much. So it's very different, and I think it's probably that way all around the league. We have more information now. We're getting smarter with how we train our players.
You guys now have 5 really young guys, and we can rope Jordan into the conversation for kind of a 6th. Individually interesting as prospects, how do you view them fitting like lineup wise together if you start to think about Rollins within that and Baldwin and all the young guys?
How do we
just like actually as a lineup combination in the future more than just like an individual?
Oh, in the future.
Yeah.
I don't really give that much thought. I mean, to me, what this year is about for Baldwin and Rollins is to play, meaning a lot of pickup ball here, a lot of Santa Cruz. If either one is able to earn minutes, then more power to them. But it's unlikely given what our roster looks like. So, as is the case with all of our young guys, whether they're rookies or second-year guys, or James being, third-year guy in his first training camp, all that, we're trying to provide the best possible development for them without regard to lineup combinations or anything like that.
You're getting a sense for rotation, just generalities, or like a second unit to start the second, fourth quarter unit. Would you want to go all 5, or are you thinking probably keep a starter in there with some of those guys?
Yeah, it would be unlikely to play 5 bench players together at the same time. What we've done in the past is bring Klay out, mid first, and then start him with the second unit. He did that before the injuries. I think he did that last year too when he came back. So we got Jordan in the game for him, and then Klay came back for Steph. I think there's an excellent chance we will try that in the beginning of the season because it's something that we've been successful with. So then it becomes, all right, who's with, Jordan and Klay at the top of the second quarter. And, in our next exhibition game, like Dante would be in that spot for sure. Now, I don't know if Klay is going to play in that exhibition game. But eventually I'd like to see those 3 guys together. Maybe it's JaMychal and James. That's a pretty nice combination because you have rebounding and you got a stretch big with JaMychal and you got a lob threat with James with 3 shooters. So that might be a lineup. That will be a lineup that we look at, but it doesn't mean that we won't look at others too.
Yeah, you go through all that, and it's not mentioned are Kuminga and Moody, and Moody for sure. I know you're thinking, are those guys kind of like Kuminga more than any of the wild card, or where he might show up and where he might be in rotation?
Yeah, one area where JK can really flourish. You saw the fourth quarter of the second game in Tokyo. We put in a all switching lineup. And his defense was incredible on ball, just switching. Nobody could get around him. He's just, he's so explosive and powerful. So in a switching lineup, JK has really shown that he can be effective. Moses, I think, could play in any lineup because of his catch and shoot ability along with his defensive versatility. So we're going to be looking at all different kinds of combinations. I mentioned the one because that's the one that comes to mind right away with James and JaMychal together. If you're playing James, you kind of want a shooter with him at the 4, so you can get a little more spacing around that dive. So JaMychal will get a good look, but as I said to Monty, Klay could be the 4 in that lineup. Moses could be the 4. JK could be, the 5 in a switching lineup. He could play with Draymond. He could play with JaMychal. So we have a lot of different combination possibilities.
Where is Andre's conditioning right now, and do you anticipate using him much, if at all, in the preseason?
Doubtful. He's really, I think someone did a story the other day. Maybe it was you. So who did the story about Andre sort of ramping up? And
wasn't me.
I read one anyway.
That was not me.
Yeah, but the gist of the article, which was to me right on point, was he started out last year and played really well right out of the gates, and then second half of the season he ran into the injuries. So we're definitely going to take it slow with Andre, and we'd rather have him fresh and really available in the second half of the season more so than the first. So this ramp up time, especially because he wasn't really going to play and then he changed his mind, we're gonna take our time with him.
How specifically is that mapped out? It sounded like, talking to him, he went before he even agreed to come back with Rick. It was like, I don't know if it's this date is when I want to be back, but like, do you expect to basically not see him until December on the court?
Yeah, we're going to determine that, and I think we're in the process of determining that. Andre didn't take part in the live stuff today, so while we were doing that on one court, he was on the other court getting on court shooting 1-on-0 stuff with a coach rebounding. And that'll be the case as we go forward here the next week. He's not going to play in the scrimmage or the exhibition games next week. So we're in the process of determining what that means longer term.
One more. You overhauled the player development staff last year. You brought in a couple more rookies this year. Jama is also kind of getting a promotion. I mean, like, how year 2, what does it look like compared to maybe year 1?
I told Bob I've turned into Bear Bryant. I just go up on the tower and I just stare down and practice every day, except I don't have a tower to stand on. But no, it really does feel like, given the continuity that we have from a year ago and the work that Jama and Kenny did in the summer with our whole coaching staff, it feels like a machine right now. Those guys have done an amazing job. Everything is clicking really smoothly. There's a good flow to practice. The young guys are getting a lot of great work in before the older guys even step out onto the floor. The older guys are in the weight room and the training room, and the younger guys are getting all the work that they need to try to catch up on some of the stuff they're behind on. So our coaching staff, led by Jama and Kenny, has really done a great job of kind of building this development program. We're thrilled about it.
What's it like knowing you know what to expect from guys like Steph and Klay and Draymond, and that means you can give more time and more rope to the young guys you want to really get a look at. As these preseason goes on, does that mean more minutes for the young guys and fewer minutes for the vets, or do you still want to see the vets out there for maybe at some point 20, 22 minutes, 24 minutes?
Yeah, it's a balance. We want to get the vets ready to play, their normal rotation as early as possible in the season. But, we usually give them one exhibition game off just to take a mental break for a day. So it'll be some combination of that where we're ramping up their minutes, but maybe they take a game off and the young guys play heavy minutes, and we try to accomplish everything at once.
Is there any concern that Klay might not be ready by the start of the season, just since he hasn't?
Well, we're 13 days away from the start, so my guess is he'll be ready, but it's not something we can just automatically say yes or no on. So it's he's getting better each day and he's doing more each day, and the hope is that he'll be able to play in an exhibition game before the regular season starts, and we got 3 of those left. So sometime I would say unlikely that he would play this week, Sunday. So we're looking at next week, another 9 days before the regular season starts. So, that's what we're looking at, trying to have them ready for opening night, but nothing has been determined yet. Thank you.